Hey there, how's everybody doing? This is Tom Lynn's back coming at you from 365 Days to Racial Change. We're here to talk about racial issues, being black in America, how we live, what we do, live, breathe, what impacts us, what kind of life we have, whether it's privileged, disadvantaged, favored. How those different aspects are manifested. Are they real? Are racial issues pertinent to any discussion in America today? I think, if you can get CNN and you're going to get an idea of where I land anyway on the answers to those questions. Today I had Sunday, and today I actually turned CNN off. Not just because it's the same old news and violence and stuff, but everything's just a massive meltdown. Mankind is dissatisfied. The greedy have planted seeds. The lazy and apathetic are reaping some of their efforts in the land, in the world. I know I am. There's a lot of blame and finger pointing that can go around in the world, and I just had to turn it off. It's like, oh boy, it wasn't the degree of violence and discontent I'm seeing all over the world and all that, but it's like, wow, the best we can do. What the only thing that draws interest, right? There goes Russia, it's blasting off nuclear weapons again, and we got no idea what's going on behind all these closed doors and national security and top secret crap, right? I mean, how could they? I don't know how they slipped that one in. Top secret, national security. We're paying for it. We're conditioned, all of us, black, white, all this, conditioned to submit in this way, to have our rights to know, eroded, and expending massive, resources on investigations and whatnot. Well, we don't know how it's being spent, who's spending it, and stuff, and who's our ally, who's our foe. The television is just as much influenced and state-run as your most strict Middle East interest. State-sponsored, state-controlled television. Americans, we're fooled because there's so much variety, and we're making all these choices, but it's the choices, the only choices you can make. Do you see the problem with that? I used to play a video game. I liked it a lot, and it was kind of a story-based game, and to some degree, every game has that. But you could pick, you could choose various streams, avenues, branches in the game, and I quickly got bored of it. Great idea, great game, but it just didn't. It confined me to making choices, and the game had just only so many different conclusions, and I was compelled to play the game in such a way because I was only presented with um, limited choices, and the outcomes were limited as well. We're doing the same thing in America. No matter how many channels. I'll tell you another funny little piece here. When I went and visited my mom, she had, she's got Dish, 1,000 channels on that thing. Don't you know, I couldn't find a damn thing to watch. None that really interests me. I stumbled onto, the first season of a AMC original called The Terror, and I regret missing that because I'm into tall ships and sailing and stuff like that. Great idea. I wish I could have been more aware of what was going on when that came out. So I kind of missed that, but that was about it. Old reruns and stuff, but 1,000 channels, and I can't find anything. You It was okay. I caught up on Bohemian Rhapsody. I'm a Queen fan, so that was good to catch that movie. But America, the choices, what we're doing, what we make. We're going to get into that a little bit about America and are we really exercising free will? Who's in control, running things? Who's presenting us with the choices? And whatnot. But first, our standard introduction here. We're talking about black issues. I'm concerned about black thinking, the black mind. In a couple of days, we're going to talk about drugs a little bit. But what goes on between those two black ears on a black individual? How are they perceiving the world? Do they perceive advantage, disadvantage, breaking even, being competitive, um, on guard, relaxed, at ease in the world? On this project where we're trying to look at facets of black existence from a whole lot of different angles. So we're asking, trying to go over some important aspects and questions for black people in America. And by far, my experience, I could find a community, I could find a group that would share my experience and concerns. But I acknowledge that plenty of black folks do well. I knew a black guy who was a banker, president of the bank. I was like, wow, man, how do you get some, where's that at? We'll talk about him and that experience a little later. So I just got to get my thoughts together on that. About blacks, what Dr. Anderson would call the overclass, and how the black overclass responds to other blacks that may be struggling. I know we got our other outliers, entertainers, talk show hosts, and such who are doing very well. So it's not like 1800s America where blacks were really overtly marginalized, disadvantaged, discriminated against. Some are really doing well. I got family members doing well. I do, and I'm really happy for them that they've done that. I recognize also my issues, even mentally, are not all black and race and stuff like that. I've got some peripheral issues going on as well that have contributed to where I am today, and my complaint. Although there's a real historical and factual basis for the general condition that blacks share in America. The white mind, white thinking, that position of privilege, power, expectation of favor, moving about in this country and the world. The world in this country is configured to support white initiative, white power, the white agenda. It was created by white folks. You know, if I had my druthers, I'd recreate the world in such a way that it's going to favor me and the people I like and that I identify with. You know, so but the white folks feel and understand where they're at. I'm not asking them to put on sackcloth and sit in ashes. You know, I wish it was. I wish white folks would readily actively engage in a process in which all peoples we level the playing field. You know, but they want competition. They want to stay on top and in control and in power, and that's the general experience of white folks. I got a white friend. Um, Most of my friends are white. When I'm doing this project, most of my friends are white. Dr. Anderson has friends from all over the world. You know, so try to have your thinking correct as far as this project goes and who I associate with. It just came out that way. Now, so I went to church today. These are pre-recorded, of course, but I went to church and um, it's a church far from where I live, in a clean, quiet, spacious neighborhood. You know, and so I'm listening to a guy, talking to a guy, very just casual stuff. And he's telling me how his father-in-law made him a carpenter, and he was a carpenter for 40 years and stuff like that. And I'm like, my mind is like, wow. See, the system facilitates that kind of activity and behavior for white folks. So that's some of the things that I wonder about white folks. Do they understand the privilege? Do they understand that their circumstances are better because the system that's what the system supports and fosters. Very important. Um, I'm concerned for financial literacy among black folks. How money works, where it's going, you know, stuff like that. Something I read, came across maybe G. Edward Griffin's book, The Creature from Jekyll Island. How America, we send our dollars, and this is physical, maybe not so as much digital as we think it is. Whatever it is, our dollars go abroad, and the world sends us its stuff. You know, and this America has this addiction for stuff. I was talking with my friend today, about hoarders and stuff. And hoarders, what's that condition that makes a person fill their space, keep their space so filled where you can barely walk, and not engage in some kind of cycle. Stuff comes in, stuff's got to go out. Could you imagine our bodies if we ate and it went nowhere? We'd be big, gigantosauri roaming the earth, grazing, like the brontosaurus. Maybe the brontosaurus was that big because maybe they didn't poop that much. But the hoarder, they got a TV show about it and stuff. I'm close to some individuals hoard wow, what in the world? So, but that's a result of, it's a symptom of some issues, but it's a result of America sending its money abroad, and those people working for low wages and stuff are sending their stuff back, and somehow billions are exchanged in between that process. That's what your dollar is doing? How do you understand what's going on with that? I'm inspired to do this work by a man named Dr. Claud Anderson. I've read through his works. You can find him all over YouTube. A Black History reader, 101 questions you never thought to ask. And we'll be in this tomorrow. But if you have the text, read it for yourself, so you know I'm not lying to you, and have your mind blown by some of the research that Dr. Anderson's looked at over a period of time. Black labor, white wealth, search for power and economic justice, and Dr. Anderson's national plan to empower Black America, Powernomics. You can find Dr. Anderson at powernomics.com. Behind me, you see the hashtag #US2Simple. You can engage with fellowship with Black women, coming together, support one another for their issues. Check out Black Enough, BLAGGENUF, kind of a Black Facebook experience. If you can't find your flavor here on the World Wide Web, then do what I did, start your own little project. And finally, we're just a couple days away from, I think, I don't know how far my notes go that I scribbled while I was on vacation, but Uncle Tom's Cabin is coming back. We're going to be diving back into that text, see what happened. We came through a lot of death, a lot of sadness, and we've seen some abuse and whatnot, and we're going to see what happens now. There's been some very fundamental changes in Tom's life and Tom's circumstance. We're going to see how that's going to play out. All right. Today I want to take a flyer. I've got some other ideas, although we talk about Dr. Anderson's work and Uncle Tom's Cabin. We have a first of the month little section. And, I've got some other ideas that I wanted to brainstorm and try to articulate. These are my personal thoughts, ideas, and looking at some of just my observations in the media, nature, the social interactions and stuff, and relating that to the Black experience in America and some of the troubling aspects of that. Today in nature, actually, I wanted to expound on, and this is kind of in light of the trip I took back east, and looking at some of the vegetation that I grew up with, all the wetness and the lush vegetation, very green out there. I live in a drier place. It's not as green as where I come from. Now, what makes it green? One thing that makes it green is a vine called kudzu, and this vine plant from Asia was brought here kind of in response to the great dust bowls of the 30s, of that time frame. Remember, farmers just got out there, raped the soil and stuff, and in its place, they didn't cultivate and stuff. They just took. And it was white folks. Just take. Well, they got a backlash. It's called the Dust Bowl. Go ahead and Google it. Um, and so you had the problem that the soil was dry and void of nutrients, and so whenever the wind kicked up, you had great walls of sand sweeping across the land. A lot of people died, animals died, the land was unsuitable to sustain life. Well, kudzu, they thought kudzu would be the answer. That was out west, but also in the south as well. I've also heard that it was possible that it was going to be a new type of feed for the cows, but they didn't eat it. So now you had this vine that was growing, but now the vine grew and grows in such a way that it inundates the space, grows over everything, and it actually kills whatever is growing on because it takes the sunlight that the roots are competing in a way. And so in some parts, if you look, I'm not from the south. I'm from a state a little further north, but uh, kudzu was there as well, and you knew it because you passed these uniform patches of land, or just it was a uniform carpet of vegetation and up in the trees and stuff. It's very, very invasive uh, vine, and um, and it just grows to malignancy and everything. With that vision of this vine from another nation, I think it's very much akin to how other countries are in position, in place in America, and are exerting some power and control in the nation. For their group, um, you know, one example that's very prominent in J. Edward Griffin's book, The Creature from Jekyll Island, about how this monetary system is just a heavy economic influence, across national borders, international borders, and such. And it's an invasive malignancy. They're not overt as kudzu. Kudzu is pretty obvious. It grows. I read on the website it can grow up to a foot a day or something like that. It grows fast, and that's the influence of other nations. Look at other people groups, that may still have some loyalties and interest to their homelands and whatnot. There's many. I'd say China, Russia. I think we've got a lot of where I live. Like the Russians have a community and a space and all that. So it's it's troubling. Are they really loyal to America? You can get a person to say the Pledge of Allegiance, sing an anthem, make a declaration, stuff like that. But are they really on board with the American system? Now, we bring all this together because I'm talking about this because this is another aspect. They don't talk about it much. We talk about a lot of the homegrown pressure and concerns for Black people in America. But you got to recognize that there's still outside influence. It's like back when Ellis Island was really kind of in its heyday, and how people, those Italians, Jews, and Irish coming over, they just moved the black population out and away and stuff. You know, it was kind of a mass gentrification. It still goes on today to some degree with just the influence of groups and powers in America, exercising influence and control in our politics and whatnot. That's been the big issue since especially before 2016, Russian interference. Well, we talk about cyber attacks and things like that. That's some of the spy stuff, James Bond stuff and whatnot. But sometimes I wonder about the people, Russian people here, their allegiances. Where are they positioned as far as things like gerrymandering and things like that? Are they positioned in a way, and are they voting objectively? Are they supporting a candidate who's got some ties and interest in their homeland? You don't know. So, America is just not in some ways, America is just not as safe as we maybe thought it was. We don't know what's going on, how long, if something's going on. I try not to be too paranoid, but you got to admit, especially since 2016, something there's been a major shift in America. Something happened where all of the interests that we've probably been building on, for about 50 years, just went out the window in less than 4. And why did it happen? Why was it so easy that it happened that way? Well, with this kudzu illustration is what could be behind a lot of that. This transplant onto American soil, and how the vine has taken root, taken hold. It's got a network under the ground. You dare not. You'd have to excavate a pretty considerable piece of real estate to get it out, because its root system is so invasive and extensive. And that could be what we're looking at in America, and not just Russia. I'm sure there's a lot of people, a lot of nations interested in getting a good foothold in America if they don't already. I'm just a kind of a nothing, nobody drone in America, and I don't exercise too much pushback against the powers that are in place in this nation. It'd be a long time. I'm going to have to really generate some serious resources to have a say. But I don't know, it makes me wonder. Think about kudzu. Think about any weed. Some vine, unwanted vine, something in your life, whatever. Kudzu. Think about that today. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm Thomas Nyberg. That's 365 days towards racial change. Day 242 out of the way. Thanks for hanging in there with me. Bye-bye.